Everyone, welcome back to Girdle Lives. This is Girdle. I wanted to go over a quick video about alt season, which I believe has officially begun. And in this video, we're just going to keep it a little bit simple. We might even call ourselves a little bit stupid because, sometimes we're too smart and we overcomplicate things. So, anyways, my name's Girdle. I've been investing in crypto now for close to 10 years, been an investor for over 15 to 20 years. I've lost count. I've retired already, enjoying my life, and the goal of this channel is to help you do the same. All right. So we're going to go over a couple things here about how I view the current market, what I see in it, and also, most importantly, is some opportunities that I think are already starting to pop off and would be really, it would really behoove you to pay attention and really capitalize on what I believe is alt season, which could last anywhere for another month, 2 months, who knows for sure. But while it's here, you need to stay focused, you need to pay attention. Okay, so we're gonna just jump right into it. Um, my favorite project is Beam, for many reasons. If you follow me on X, you'd be familiar with a lot of my tweets, a lot of my content, a lot of my articles I write that's centered around this project. It's mostly because I have a long-term view on it, but they have a lot that is coming up currently that I feel like that their timing is always impeccable, right? So here we are. We have Bitcoin busting down the all-time highs. We have what looks like, in my opinion, I could be wrong, no one knows for sure, but I think that we have a really conducive environment for altcoins popping off here in this coming month and also potentially in July. And here you have Beam with Mark, who is the co-founder, co-CEO of Beam, traveling to Abu Dhabi, right? He's going to launch another fund and accelerator focused on frontier tech, AI gaming, real world assets, and robotics, which will be live later this year. And the next stop after that will be South Korea. So if you remember, months back, they had the original Abu Dhabi fund, which kickstarted a lot of the excitement and one of the big runs in the last altcoin season that kicked off was spearheaded by Beam. It was one of the big outperformers. We saw we saw this coin pull an easy, I think it was maybe 25x off the bottom, right? And around that same time, they had a big rebranding from Merit Circle to Beam, right? That was the original rebrand. They completely rebranded their name, everything, their marketing. Um, and I feel like that all that kind of came around the same time and it all kind of came together with the timing. And I think we're going to see something like that again. I don't know if it's going to happen uh, as quickly as it did last time, but I think over the next year to 2 years, you're going to see something very similar play out as last time, where you have a very suppressed price where Beam is at 0.00 7 or 8. I mean, you could see this coin at its current low market cap easily 10, 20, 30x. And I believe it is a bull chip and a lot of people are sleeping on it and they continue to sleep on it and they think that it's a gaming coin. But as you're going to see in this video, as I'm showing you, it's not a gaming coin, right? It's one of these coins where it has a lot of catalysts going for it that are aligning that a lot of people are sleeping on. So we're just gonna pop into Beam. I'm gonna touch on Bitcoin after Beam, but um, we have a few of the catalysts, right? SoFun with their token generation event imminently. So it's the end of this month, prior to the end of this month, before June kicks off. That's the number one uh, position in the treasury that backs Beam, right? That's going live. You have Trial Extreme, which is a proven studio releasing a game that already has traction, tons of users, millions of users, a lot of transactions that could be brought onto the blockchain. That would fuel a lot of the nodes. That's another catalyst. So you have a synergy between the catalysts that could then it's already locking up a lot of the supply, but I think that that could be another reason for people to get interested in Beam. A lot more interested, lot more retail interest could come in to buy nodes off the secondary market to stake them. And every time that happens, we have more Beam that is bought and burned and is permanently out of supply, right? So you take all these catalysts together, you have a potential alt season lining up, you have the rebrand, you have Sophon, you have Trial Extreme, you have, of course, we have the Beam socks, right? Which is a huge catalyst. But anyways, being serious here for just a second, I mean, all these things, and then you have the chart, right? When you look at the chart, it's just, I mean, you had a retest here at the bottom of the range and a little bit of a bounce up and the all-time high over here around 4 cents. Um, Whether that gets tested in this little uptrend, I think that alts will be having here very soon. That's anyone's guess. You know, you can't predict things with that much certainty, especially in crypto. It's so volatile. But I mean, you're already kind of seeing what I think is going to continue to play out for at least the next month or two, and that could again like a blue chip coin like Beam, it could easily go 3, 4, 5x very quickly in a matter of weeks. Longer term, 10, 20, 30x. Okay, so the current price at 0.008 and some change, it's extremely low. No one knows if that's the actual bottom. I sure as hell don't. And if anyone says that they do, it's just a guess, right? We're all guessing. But as far as the risk reward at these levels, they're very favorable for a long-term play and even for a short-term play, right? And again, like if you were here for my last video, the reason I like Beam is because with the volatility and with the uncertainty in crypto, if you're investing any sort of size in your positions, it's really hard to do that in meme coins because if you're wrong, you're really wrong, right? And then it's really hard to bounce back from that loss that you take, and you either have to cut your losses or you eat it, and then you know it's really hard to bounce back from those. With Beam, you have something that you can hold, right? You have something that has a multi-hundred-million-dollar funds backing it. We're talking the Abu Dhabi fund. We're talking the Native Beam fund that has Sophon and Aether is another one that I haven't touched on. That one is one of the highest revenue generating on a monthly basis cryptos out there, right? In the AI space. You have a lot of these other projects. They're incorporating gaming and real world assets. Um, all those things are coming together where if you're bullish on crypto, tech, AI, robotics into the future, buying something like Beam is similar. It's not the same thing as like MSTR or Tesla or BlackRock, but it feels like it, right? It really, it's attempting to do the same thing. Um, and you'll probably see more gains than buying those, right? You might, I don't know what the current market cap of Tesla is currently, but it's very high. You know, the current market cap of Beam is comparatively extremely low, and the potential upside of crypto as a whole, especially altcoins. The potential for altcoins from here into the future is very high, right? So something like Beam, sitting at the bottom with all these fundamental catalysts, it's a perfect setup, in my opinion, to just outperform just like it does every time the stars align with altcoins. And it's just going to happen again when everyone is just turning the other eye and counting it out, right? So that's my take on Beam as a solid 20 plus blue chip altcoin play, right? And so you really need to pay attention because these things do not last very long. Doesn't mean you won't get another opportunity, but it's possible that it could just take off without you, and that's it, right? So really need to be focusing at these periods of time. So now that we got that out of the way, um, we'll just go ahead and jump back into a little bit of a higher level view of where we are, right? So this is Bitcoin. I have the long-term view of Bitcoin here on the logarithmic view right here. And then what I do is I overlay a logarithmic regression. You can do this on TradingView. And you can easily see the tops and the bottoms where Bitcoin likes to visit. right? If we can go to the monthly chart here, and we've been in this very solid period of building a very methodical base up. We'll go up, we'll consolidate, we'll retest the lows, prior support, we'll confirm it, and then we continue on. The way I look at that is it's very healthy and it's really something where you have a very solid foundation that could continue in the future, right? When you have something like this during the COVID boom, it was very quick, right? It went down, retest. We had that double top and then it corrected. With this, you kind of see the opposite, where you have a lot of strength and support building up each move. So the way I look at that is I say, okay, if we're making all-time highs now and the chart looks like this, I mean, this cycle, you need to start looking at it like this could continue beyond this year. We could be looking at a quarter million plus Bitcoin as soon as next year in 2026. Whereas a lot of people that have been in this market, retail people like veterans, they think that you have to abide by that 4-year cycle theory, right? Where 4 years on, 3.5, 4 years on, you're bullish, and then you have your bear market, right? You have an intense bear market. But what could happen, and I think what is continuing to happen with crypto is it's decoupling from that halving event, and you're seeing it more closely correlated to liquidity flows and also the digital gold 2.0 store value narrative, right? So you need to get out of this mindset of Bitcoin can only pump 2 years after the Bitcoin halving and then you sell and then you go away for a year or two, right? We could easily see this bull market continuing for another year, 2, 3 years even. And you could look back on this period when Bitcoin just broke all-time high at 110,000, saying, why didn't I go all in? Why didn't I at least get some exposure or get some altcoins and play them? And you were sidelined. You kept expecting that drop that never came. It doesn't mean that we won't have any more drops. It just means that you need to reframe your thinking that going into the future, things could be different than the past, right? That's the key. You don't want to go all in, you don't want to go all out with the thinking with your positioning, but you need to be open to the idea that the future could look a lot different from the past, right? So when we have that view with Bitcoin, we have that view with a lot of the altcoins. I think that when you look at Bitcoin dominance, and the fact that QE hasn't even happened yet, I think that just supports that whole view. So when you have Bitcoin dominance as high as it has that stored potential energy that eventually will find its way from the stable coins, from the stablecoin dominance into the blue chips, yes, into the memes. But again, depending on your strategy, depending on how much size you like to play with, that's going to really determine what percentage of your portfolios you should allocate in each investment, right? So your results are going to vary on that. That's a personal decision and a personal strategy that you're going to have to come up with on your own. It's not up for me to decide for you. Okay, so now again, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video. This is very urgent. If you're trying to get positions, if you're trying to get size on with some solid altcoins, I wanted to push this out because I feel like your time your time might be a little bit limited as Bitcoin, as I'm filming this, pushes up to 111,000. It could go up quite a bit higher until it cools off. I think altcoins are storing up a lot of potential energy, and they're going to start reflecting that soon. And when we look at going to the Coinbase app rank bot on Twitter, again, you can follow this on at Coin App Rank Bot. I like to follow this. It's a really good gauge of retail interest and also retail sentiment in the market. It's slowly starting to trend up, right? The most recent one an hour ago, we got up to 16 on finance apps. We were at 22 a half a day ago. We were kind of around there for about a day or two, 23, 21, 21, 14, 20, right? If you see this get up into the upper tens, maybe as high as five, or even like a red line, which I'd view in like the top one, two, three, or four, that's when you should say, okay, I need to look at my portfolio. If you're a trader, if you're a long-term investor, it might not make sense. But if you're more speculative minded, if you're more short term, you're playing in more volatile plays, you might want to take some chips off the table, right? It doesn't mean you sell everything, but that's when you know the sentiment is finally shifting. The majority now is thinking more bullish, right? The majority has been bearish. The majority has been completely out of altcoins. They have been ignoring them, and that is the ultimate indicator to know when to really go long altcoins and really start getting bullish is when everyone else is not paying attention, when everyone else is bearish. And that's what you're seeing, and you're finally starting to see a reversal in that, but it's in progress. This run could last another 1 to 2 months. It could last longer, could even last into Q3. My current thinking is that it could last into as early as late as early Q3. But I'm gonna keep revisiting that thesis. I again, like, I don't have a crystal ball, but these periods do tend to last for at least a couple months, and we've been in a bullish trend for some period of time. And more recently, we're taking another leg up on Bitcoin, and that's yet to really reflect in the altcoins, right? So, hope you enjoyed this video. It was a quicker one. I'm going to start pumping out more of them. If you really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and follow me on Twitter as well as YouTube and giving this a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, this has been Girdle. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks. Bye bye.